McNair gives it to George, running right up the middle. Touchdown! Titans! There are no flags on the field! It's a miracle!
Safety, now you're one-on-one with it.
Shows why he's the man! In trouble. Sack!
Ladies and gentlemen, Titan Nation, welcome back to another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about NFL Combine and draft and all that good stuff. We have my friend Kayla Anderson with me. How you doing, Kayla?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Oh, we got the kiddo in there.
That's one of them. Hey,
Hello.
say hi.
Hi.
Okay,
Hello.
go in there, buddy. Okay. Wow, he timed that perfectly. Look,
Yeah.
hopefully YouTube will let me have with a kid with his underwear. Can you grab him, please? Jesus.
I love it.
Yeah, he's just having his own thing. So let's talk about. Don't worry, he'll eventually go that way. Don't worry.
This is great TV right here.
The other
I
one's
love
calling
using
me
the
up.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Sorry.
Yeah, that was fun.
Man, this has got to be in the outtakes here for sure.
All right, so besides the mess that just happened, again, that's what happens when you're in your garage. How are you doing, Kayla?
Good, man. I feel like this season has never ended, right? And I know that we're technically done with the 2023 season, but because of the hirings and obviously the firings that came before that, and then this goes right into the draft coverage, I really don't know if I've come up for a breath of air yet, right? Just because it's been one thing after the other. But that is really today's NFL, right? There is no break anymore. I feel like the coverage continues to get bigger, the money continues to increase, and football is still proven that it's king in this country.
Yeah, 100%. Back in the day, was it, especially when you're covering a Titans team, was the media a big deal in the offseason? Not too much, right? Or do you feel like it's just gotten heavier as the years progress, especially after a firing and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I've been here. This is going to be going into my 8th season covering the Titans. So I've clearly been through a firing and hiring before when it was Malarkey to Vrabel. And so this is the second one I've been through. But I do truly feel like every year it ramps up. And I truly believe that because there is more money involved. I mean, we all saw the increase of money that's going to be available, and the Titans are right up there, and that's due to increased viewership and all of the TV deals that are out there. So the more money you bring in, the more coverage you're going to give that sport, thus your team you're covering in your city. And I think it's really made clear from what I deal with every day in radio that the Titans do kind of run this town. And I think that the Predators do a great job with their product. I think Nashville SC does a great job with their product. But when it comes to the Kings of Tennessee, especially Nashville, by far it's the Tennessee Titans. That's what people want to know about. And especially when you're pretty much pushing the reset button on the entire organization, as they did this offseason.
Yep. And as we go into this off seasons, we know players that are kind of on the cusp of not coming back. Derrick Henry would be one of those players. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. He's not coming back. It was good years with the Tennessee Titans, but he's ready to move forward. I think the Tennessee Titans are ready to move forward as well. Any thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, I know it's tough for fans. I hear it every day from listeners on the show. I think a lot of them, it's tough for them to completely rip that Band-Aid off. Like you were saying, they kind of have to do at this point. And I do think if you want a true reset, which seems to be what the Tennessee Titans are looking for right now, I feel like you have to rip that Band-Aid off. And as much as Derek has done for this organization, and I've pretty much covered him his almost his entire career here, and he has been, um, you know, a great ambassador of not only the game but specifically, for the Titans as a national ambassador. I mean, people know who Derrick Henry is. Like, he's a product, right? He has put eyes on the Tennessee Titans franchise because he's that great of a player. But I think at this point of his career, he's hit the 30 mark, and I'm not saying he's done by any means, but I think his role with the Titans and, what they would be able to utilize him for, just, I don't think it would be beneficial for him. And I don't think it would be beneficial for the organization in what they're looking to do offensively moving forward. I think Derek will land on a team. I think it's only fair he goes on a team where they have a legitimate chance of winning the Super Bowl in the next couple of years. He deserves that, because I don't think, if he doesn't win a Super Bowl or at least get to a Super Bowl in his career, I don't know if they're going to put him in the Hall of Fame. I
Yeah.
really don't. I think that sucks because I think he's done a lot, but I think he has to get that, accolade, or at least get to that point to be considered to be a future Hall of Famer. So I want that for Derek. I think a lot of Titans fans want that for Derek. I think it's just hard to understand that he's probably for the last time been seen in two-tone blue.
Well, especially talking about like the offense, how it revolves around Derrick Henry, and I think Rand Carthon talked a little bit about that, where it might have been Brian Callahan, just about him as a player, and then about the offense and what type of offensive scheme kind of runs through him. And if, like you said, if you want to build that identity, you want to kind of do a reset. It's kind of hard to reset with a player with certain skills like Derrick Henry. You kind of have to take him out of the equation to kind of build up this offensive line of this offensive as well, to get them going. Tajay Spears being, the top dog for that number one wide receiver, right? I mean, running back.
Yeah, and look, they're going to have another back with him.
Yeah.
I don't feel like this is a league that we're talking about a one back league in any way. Like, in this NFL, day and age, we're talking about a combo, really. With when you look at all the teams that have found success around the league recently on offense, I feel like there might be more of a 1A, but the 1B is right there. And I feel like you've got to have two of them. And, some of these guys utilize in certain situations, red zone situations. And then you've got your other guy that is kind of multiple, right? Like,
Yeah.
who can be a dual threat, where you see Tajay Spears, he's such a natural pass catcher, but he can also be that guy that can be a threat on the ground and in the run game too. So I think you have to have two nowadays in the NFL if you're going to have that all around attacking offense.
Definitely. That's going to be like that 1-2 punch. That's what you need.
Yeah.
Especially in the running back position. Now, talking about the NFL Combine, I know you've probably seen some of the videos of Rand talking about just the meetings going through with the offensive coordinators, with the offense, and Brian Callahan. Can you, give your thoughts on what you saw today in the Combine with them?
I thought we, as fans and people who cover the Tennessee Titans, I thought we got a really good amount of information out of not only Rand Carthon but Brian Callahan. There were, credit to the media that are up there and asking some really good questions, but credit also to Rand and Brian Callahan for being so forthcoming. I just feel like there's a different vibe here. They're going to keep things close to the vest that they need to be keeping close to the vest, but they're also being transparent about things where I think in the past we didn't get that feel all the time. And I think a lot of times we're guessing like what they're going to do, or we're like, okay, are they leading us down a different path? I at least feel with the answers we got today from Rand and Brian Callahan, like they're on the same page.
Yeah.
They're pretty, blunt in saying, hey, look, we have the 7th round pick. It's exciting that we have it. We aren't afraid, though, to take offers to possibly trade down if we need to. But we're also going to be transparent as Brian Callahan in saying, I like the fact that there could be some wide receivers in Roma Dunze and Malik Neighbors that are available at 7. We're not necessarily afraid to pass over a tackle and get one of these guys, even though our offensive line is not where we want it to be. If we have a skill player who can get open, it won't take as much time for, Will Levis to get the ball out to that playmaker. I'm interested in scoring points. That's pretty much what Brian Callahan said today. And I think that maybe surprised a lot of people that he kind of put that out there and made it, I think, a little bit more of a reality that they might not necessarily go tackle at number 7. They might take whoever the best receiver is on the board at that point. And I think that just goes to show they are really serious about changing this offense and making it an offense that can compete with the Miami Dolphins of the day and age, the Kansas City offenses, the 49ers types of offenses. And sometimes to do that, you are going to have to take a risk to get the best guy on the board who is, maybe a wide receiver over a tackle. But then again, he said, this offense is different from the offense that we were running at that point in Cincinnati because Burrow had already really had a solid year under his belt. And in the way that's different from Will, we're still not seeing exactly, everything Will has to offer right now. That's still a building process. So it's not saying that they're not going to go tackle, but I thought it was really good that he pointed out the fact we can still make this work if we take the best wide receiver on the board.
It's always interesting to see that, especially when you talked about it, offensive, that's the first thing everyone's offensive lineman, it's the first one to go. But you go with the best player available, depending on what position, everyone, it was kind of like a debate on whether do you take a wide receiver or offensive tackle, like which one is a bigger need. In my opinion, I think the offensive lineman is a bigger need. But
Yeah.
I mean, you explained it perfectly too, saying that, Will Levis doesn't need, you know, all day to throw the ball, and especially if you have a talent like that, wide receiver, which is wide receiver core, not the greatest. We have D Hop, right, and then you have the rest of the line. I mean, you can't depend on that. You're gonna need to build up that wide receiver core.
And also, let's remember the fact that we have a luxury vehicle now that is parked in the Tennessee Titans facility, and that's Bill Callahan.
Yep.
This is a luxury that really, unless you're the Philadelphia Eagles, you don't have that in terms of running your offensive line. So you have to think that they're also thinking, well, we got Bill Callahan here. So even some of these guys that the old staff may not have had,
Struggling.
a lot of success in getting the development going, or we didn't see the progress we needed to see out of these guys. We think Bill Callahan can be that guy that perhaps can change some of these guys into starters that can be consistent, that can be relied upon to protect Will Levis. Now, I still think you need a tackle,
Yeah, definitely.
regardless, right? But I think that you have the luxury now of seeing if those guys can really get the most out of them. And I think they're kind of confident that they might be able to do that with a couple of these guys.
Yeah, and I bet you half the offensive line, especially having a coach like that come, and that has to motivate the players
Yeah.
as well. So I think I'm excited. Like that hire was pretty cool. I was really excited just to see the transition, to see them adapt to that.
Yeah.
Coach Callahan. I think it's something which will be interesting to see in the offseason. Talk about wide receivers a little bit. We have, Justin Jefferson. You have T. Higgins. There was talk about T. Higgins. Bengals, franchise tagged him. Now there was talks of them potentially trading. Do you see the Titans at all in that mix? Again, he's mentioned the Titans before. Ties to Callahan. I just don't see the Titans. Well, in my opinion, I wouldn't risk giving a lot of draft picks to him.
You can't. You can't afford to do it.
No.
Look, if the Titans were in any other position in terms of having some draft, I guess stock. I mean, this year it's so down in terms of their picks. I guess the valuable picks because,
Yeah.
and I keep on saying this on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. I said this third rounder and not having one, it's like burning a hole through me. I just feel like the absence of the third round pick for the Titans this
I don't.
year is huge because they need every draft pick that they can possibly have. And the third round is extremely valuable.
Yeah.
And really, after the fourth round, it completely drops off this year in terms of the draft because a lot of guys are going back for NIL money. There's just not the abundance of talent after the fourth round that you can find those gems that maybe you have in the past.
Yeah.
It's just different this year. So I really think first, second, third round are going to be super important to find that starting, caliber or your franchise guys at positions, and not having that third rounder is hurting them. And so that's really the biggest reason. And look, they might find a way to get one, but
Yeah.
my whole point is I don't think they can afford to give anything away in a trade. I don't think T. Higgins will be traded because I think the Cincinnati Bengals know they have to help Joe Burrow out as much as they can. I mean, first of all, he was not healthy last year. You've got Jamar Chase, who is obviously wide receiver one by far, but they're not going to have the I'm spacing Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd will be gone. You've got to have at least two guys for Joe Burrow this next year to help him.
Yeah.
And I think that they're going to keep him there. And I think Zach Taylor kind of made that apparent when he spoke about that in a statement when they decided to franchise tag T. Higgins. And as for Justin Jefferson, look, I mean, would you love to have that piece? Absolutely. But the problem with that is I look at it the same way in Minnesota. He might be saying, I'm not coming back if Kirk Cousins isn't coming back. But Minnesota also has to say, what do we have as a franchise face? Like that's their
Cool. That's
franchise
it.
face in
Yeah.
Minnesota. And they possibly could be drafting their future quarterback, or maybe they sign a guy, but they're going to have a weapon like Justin Jefferson to be, competing anyhow. Like there's no other way they are able to really compete if they're just getting rid of their most valuable piece, who's the face of the franchise. So I don't think that's happening either. So I think it's just one of those things where you're going to draft a wide receiver. You might in free agency sign a guy that's not, big time, money, and maybe can be that three guy.
Mhm.
Uh, we'll have to see what happens with that. Look, they're confident that Traylon Burks is going to be able to do something this year. They said he's been working out with DeAndre Hopkins, learning how to actually not try to stay healthy, but try to be productive.
And
And
that's important because the half of
it is.
the past couple of years he's been working on getting healthy, right? Trying to get
Yeah.
back into and he, I think what's his name said it as well. He was like it's really important for him not only to be healthy but to actually be making football moves practices, and that's huge. And hopefully
It is.
it's just hard. The injury bug for him has been really, really detrimental, especially for a young wide receiver who had coming in as the number one draft pick, and kind of filling, unfortunately, AJ Brown shoes. Even though he has nothing to do with that, you still have that shadow over
Yeah.
you, and that's tough. And I hope he can overcome it. I'm excited to see it, but it's a long road for him.
It is. But the biggest thing for me that sticks out is okay, yes, the injuries have happened. But the
Hmm.
thing that I have recognized covering Traylon Burks the last 2 years is when he is on the field and he is healthy, there's something in terms of the confidence that then he lacks because either he's afraid to get hurt again or he feels like because he's not been able to be consistently on the field that he's lacking confidence. So when he is available, he's still, having drops and doing things
Yeah.
that he cannot afford to do and he's not helping himself. So that's why I think the DeAndre Hopkins taking him under his wing this offseason, when I heard that, I was like, that's major
Yeah.
because he's going to teach him how to be a pro. And
Yeah.
Traylon might have thought he was a pro, and he might have thought last offseason he did the right things. And look, he did some great things, and he seemed different this year in training camp, but then it didn't like process over to the season. And that's what matters. I don't give a crap what you do about what you do in preseason and what you do in the preseason games and training camp. That doesn't mean crap to me. You have to be able to prove that once you are actually on the field and you've got, everybody watching. So I think that's
Agreed.
where I was like, okay, this is good that DeAndre Hopkins is kind of teaching him this is how you have to be a pro.
I mean, that's the perfect example. I remember a couple years back, Marcus Mariota. Everyone gets on me, but it's the perfect example. You remember at training camp, they said that he didn't throw one pick. He was completion. First preseason game, first play, throws a pick.
Yep.
It just shows. It just shows. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm nothing against Marcus Mariota, good guy, but I mean, it just shows. Like you said, doesn't matter what you do in the preseason, training camp. You gotta show it on the field. But Kayla, before I let you go, I want to say thank you again for coming on. It's always a pleasure having you on. Your insight again, you on the radio, keep doing your thing. The show's awesome with Will and Ramon, and thank you so much. And hope to have you on again. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, appreciate you too. Keep up the good work. And hey, it's never a bad thing when we don't have, time to come up for air, right? Because when it comes down to it, we're just going to have something to talk about when it comes to the Titans every single week.
Which is good. It's good.
Exactly.
It's never bad talking Titans, and I think a lot of people can get on board with that talking Titans even in the off season. It gets kind of lonely, especially for some people that they live, breathe Titans
Right.
football. So,
Absolutely.
all right. Well, I want to say thank you again so much. All right.
Thank you.